can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, Duck, I don't want to get you out of your comfort zone, but having said that, the comments we get about we have a hell of a lot of comments, and I'm telling you this, we don't mention all the good ones, but we have the people who round us up for having an opinion, which, and I've said this before. Do you realise how illogical it is for people to round us up and say, you're boring and you've got no and you're trying to remain relevant and all that and what you say is shit? How would they know that unless they listen to us? And no, it's just the irony of that is lost on those people.
Also, the effort
to
go to write something negative as well. So they're trying to be
fantastic.
They're trying to be relevant themselves by writing a comment. So that they try to get a mention from you, which then gives them some sort of relevance.
They would sit behind their little processor and they'd get firm. They'd get a hard-on, and they probably wouldn't be able to do it because it would rear up in front of it and they'd have to work around it.
I'm not giving them that much credit. I don't think they probably haven't had one for many a year, which is why
some of them could be trans.
Hey, well, I've got no idea, but I'm sure we've got all sorts of listeners.
I hope we have, and we welcome them all. And as long as you don't mind our opinion about there's only two sexes on the planet, a male or a female. Call yourself whatever you like, but don't tell us that you're either a male or a female. You can be a woman or a man. You can call yourself a woman if you're a man, that's fine, but don't say you're a male if you're not. If you've got two X chromosomes, you're a woman and a female, and if you've got an XY chromosome, you're a male. But other than that, call yourself anything you like, man, woman, dog, anything. Monkey.
And but Sam, it's your opinion, and people get...
No, that's not my opinion, that's a fact.
No, yes, it is. But but you having a strong opinion about these facts... Right? No, but you listen, let me explain. You having a strong opinion about the factual science-based discovery that we were many years ago, and that is that these people, a bit like the media that I talk about, the football media that seem to get up in the air for people having an opinion about things, and their whole job is getting annoyed or getting offended by people's opinions, rather than have an opinion themselves and use their own noggin and actually say something that's worthwhile, rather than just sit back and pot everyone else.
Or counter it with a logical retort.
Correct. So that's it. But it's become a sport. It's become a sport not only in the... Well, it's always been a sport in the, I guess, in the political arena, politics and the media and et cetera, et cetera. It's been a sport about potting, but in the football media now, it is just simply people sitting back potting people with an opinion.
So, how about
very few have an opinion.
How about this?
All the rest pot the opinions.
How about this for trivial news? I'm driving in my car and the news comes on. I was on, I don't know, probably 3AW's news, I don't know, and it said, there's been Pakistan have declared war on India and Donald Trump's done this and there's terrorists, and now sporting news. And the thing that led the sporting news was someone had said that James Sicily is now going to concentrate on his kicking. That was the news. It said... James Sicily has been ordered to concentrate on his kicking because his kicking has gone a little astray in some of the games. And while the Hawthorn side have been winning, if they had been losing, they would have sheeted it home to the fact he was kicking inaccurately. Not for goal, just from person to person. How could that lead a sporting broadcast?
Yeah, well, I guess he's... Yeah, very true. Yeah, true. He's normally a beautiful kick.
Yeah, I know. How could you lead a news bulletin in sport?
He's a beautiful kick. He might have missed a couple of targets in recent times.
We look like simpletons.
Talking about opinions. What about Alex Pearce, the Fremantle captain? I think it's Alex Pearce, is it? The Fremantle captain that made comments. Ralphie Horowitz, did you read his?
I did, and this is the other. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Thank you,
because I meant to mention. Well, the AFL belting out stuff about not sanctioning Willie Rioli and giving people the bird. Why wouldn't they come out and say about Hamas being fawned and fated by the Fremantle Dockers and getting into a serious political comment? Why wouldn't the AFL come out and say, please do not give us opinions about Hamas or Israel or what's going on?
Was that who it was? Was it
Absolutely. Oh, I don't know if it was someone to do with the Fremantle Dockers. They put on their website, they supported Hamas.
Who was it, sir?
You might support Hamas, you might support Israel, but if you start getting into that, I mean, that's where the weakness of the AFL.
No, but because they pick and choose what they are strong on. So, like you said, if someone came out and had a homophobic slur, they would be raked across hot coals, which is fair enough. But you can't pick and choose when you want to be political or not. And the AFL, unfortunately, have decided that they are the moral arbiters of, yes, very good. But they are picking and choosing when they decide to get involved.
So
and
now,
that is, you know what that is? That is, once again, and this is the problem, hypocritical behaviour. They are hypocrites.
Now that we've got onto politics, Duck, we said here.
Was it? I think it was Alex Pearce. The captain.
We said here, either the week before or when we were talking about the election, we said there is no doubt the Australian Labor Party will get returned because we are a blue-collar country. We said that.
Yes, we did.
We did? I know we said that. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. Two of the greatest things that have happened in my lifetime, certainly politically, but maybe ever, was one, Donald Trump getting re-elected as the President of the United States, and secondly, Adam Brandt losing his seat for the Greens. Adam Brandt is a treacherous grub who wouldn't stand in front of the Australian flag at any press conference. Good riddance to Adam Brandt. A good riddance to him. What a breath of fresh air that someone has seen that the jig's up and disqualified him from actually having to go through the cringe-worthiness of not standing in front of the Australian flag. How could you possibly represent the country and not stand in front of your flag?
When did you go and do your vote? You did an early vote, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I came back. I told you, I came back down Victoria Street and voted in North Melbourne.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Hey, that's right.
And I tell you,
was it just clarify, Sue, whether it was Alex? I'm sure it was Fremantle.
And I
captain.
tell you who I voted for.
Alex, the Fremantle captain. Is that the Fremantle captain, Alex Pearce? I think it is.
Voted for One Nation, Pauline Hanson, and hopefully her daughter, Lee Hanson, is going to take over Jackie Lambie's seat.
Oh, Jackie. Have you met Jackie?
No, probably a very nice person. Don't know her. But One Nation would be my party.
Would it? Well, you're all over Clive.
I wasn't all over him. I interviewed him
You're all over him like a cheap suit.
Well, you look
You're
at
saying,
you. You've got a grin on that stupid, supercilious grin. I wasn't over like him at cheap.
You're saying that he's the Trump, but he's the
Trump
Donald
of the Patriots,
Trump, the
yes.
Trump of Australia,
Trump of
and he's this
Patriots.
and that. And as soon as he sided with the Greens, you're off him like a frog at a sock. No, that's
Like
not
a
off
what?
him. That's
A
on
frog
him,
at a
like
sock?
a frog at a sock.
Jesus. I did. As soon as I saw his
jumped off him.
preferences were going to the Greens, I thought, Clive, what
But
in
why would
God's
he do
name are you
that?
doing?
Why would he do that?
Why would he do that?
I
Why
know.
wouldn't he give
No,
it to
but
Pauline
because
Hanson?
They're polar opposites, his views, and anyway.
So I'll tell you what's going to happen.
So we've gone through we went through all of that prancing and dancing through that, and it was a landslide.
It was, and we said, and
landslide.
I'll tell you what'll happen here in Victoria. The second worst government in the history of fucking elections ever, or governments ever in the world. The first was Daniel Andrews' government. The second is Jacinta Allen's, and Jacinta Allen's government, if she's still there, will end up winning the Victorian state election. There's no doubt of that, because the Liberals here in this state are They are pathetic. And I'll tell you how pathetic they are. I tried to interview Sam Groth. He wouldn't come on because I'd interviewed a bloody Nazi. I tell you what, you could do a lot worse than side with me, Sam, if you want to get some stocks up for the Liberal Party.
I just want to know, rather than, go on with all of that, tell me this: why was it such a lens? How can it be, given the performance levels of the current government in so many areas, and so many people seem disheartened with the way this in this state in particular is governed? Why was it? Why is it?
So did you go and watch? I'll answer this. Did you go and watch? But
be succinct and be to the point. Don't ramble on. Just get to the point.
Give us a time. How long have I got to speak to this motion?
Because I think people want to know, because you're very passionate about it.
Very succinct questions.
And you're very well read. Don't ask me the questions. I'm asking you the question.
Your answer will be the answer that you'll know I'll give. Did you watch Geelong and the Swans play in the 2022 Grand Final?
Probably.
Yeah. Did you watch Brisbane beat the Swans in last year's Grand Final?
Yes.
And what did you make of that? Did you think the Brisbane Lions were good or Geelong were good, or did you think the opposition were just non-existent?
No.
They were non-existent. They didn't
have their best days.
No, didn't try.
Oh, no.
On both of them.
They didn't try. What's that got to do with the question I just asked you?
Well, because they had no opposition. The Liberal Party... I
said be succinct and get to the point.
Well,
and you've just gone around about spoken about 3 grand finals.
Do you know... so if I was advising, and I may as well because no one else is, if I was advising the Liberal Party here in Victoria, I wouldn't stand up and make, this is what we're going to do. I would say we are going to try and bring the costs down of every department. We are going to try and bring the costs down of energy, petrol. We're going to immigration. We're going to hit that on the head big time. Immigration, it's getting out of hand. Inflation, we're going to But I tell you what we're not going to do. We're going to put money into the police. We're going to put money into the nurses, and we're going to put money into Medibank or the Victorian health system. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to get rid of Welcome to Country. It is a nonsense. It is a contrived ritual. It's a contrived...
Yes, we know that. I said be succinct. We all know those points that you make.
And... if we can't find, this is no reflection on the man who's just been appointed the head of the police force here.
Kiwi.
If we can't find, man, he's been retired for 6 years. If we can't find in Melbourne or Victoria or Australia someone to lead Victoria's police force who's an Australian, that shows you how well we're going.
Some people would say, Sam, that... they would say the same about American politics and say if Trump's the obvious choice in a country with 340 or 50 million, then how well are they going?
Well, Doug, Trump.
I'm just giving a counter argument here. So what you're saying is we are lacking leadership in the police. We are lacking leadership in politics. But
Victorian Liberals said we are going to.
Are there enough kids that go to school? Are there enough kids that actually, and clearly this is the case in America if Donald Trump can become president twice. No, but are there enough kids that actually go to school and then finish year 12 and say I'm going to go to uni and I'm going to study politics and
because they get brainwashed.
Going to go in there. Are there enough of them? Because clearly there's not.
So they get brainwashed from the to put your hands on the ground, say it's not your country. They get brainwashed into thinking that it's them against us. This is what's happening in the schools, and then you go to the universities and you don't get a score unless you say welcome to country is by far the best thing that's ever happened to this university, and we'll give you some points if you say that. So you say Donald Trump. If people started...
There is an argument to say. There's a lot of people think that clearly, the last president, Joe Biden, who was, clearly you say, he probably wasn't physically
retarded
up to being the president of the United States in the end, given his frailness. But what I'm saying is, so if they're the two best candidates,
no, Doug, please.
Does that not say that there's a weakness
No duck.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I do want to. I'm about to tell you this. That is absolute nonsense. What you're saying, Donald Trump.
I know, but I also said.
Donald Trump got the most votes of any Republican person ever. He won he won.
I'm not saying he didn't win the elections.
He won it by a landslide. He won all the swing states.
He's the best option.
He has brought that country. He is fantastic.
So
there is, and as soon and people
but
start
who was he up against? So think about who he was up against.
He's up against a machine that didn't have a leader, a dumb, stupid, dumb cluck woman who just speaks in riddles.
So my point is, if they're the best candidates, then they're not in exactly the best position either.
Donald Trump is the most brilliant politician that's ever been.
He's not a politician. He wasn't a politician.
I rest my case.
Yeah,
that's exactly the point.
Well, maybe so. What are you saying? That's why would a Sam Groth here? Would he be a great? That he's not. He wasn't a politician.
He might be. He
wouldn't have studied politics. He would have just been.
He might be a great person if he'd come on here and be interviewed by me instead of having his party say, "Oh no, I interviewed a neo-Nazi. We don't want to be linked with Sam Newman because he's a white supremacist or something."
Would have Arnie, if he was born in, like Arnie being
Schwarzenegger?
being the.
Schwarzenegger?
Governor, yes. Obviously, the governor of
California.
If he was able to run for president,
yes.
Do you think that someone like he back in the day could have actually been the president of the United States?
Well, he could have been until he tipped over his maid.
Well, Ronald Reagan was an actor.
Yeah, I know that.
You know that? He was a cowboy.
You look at me as though I'm.
He was a cowboy.
You look at me as though I'm on the back of a handball court. You don't think on your.
He was an actor before he got into politics.
Arnie was married into the Kennedy family. He was married to one of the Shrivers. Then he tipped over the help and put her up the duff, and they had a child.
I don't know.
They did.
All that
Arnie
saying
did
is,
that.
What I'm saying is that
he tipped her over in one of the bedrooms while she was making the linen.
I don't think that we have. I don't think there are enough. Kids that
I'll be back, Bennett.
Are going into politics.
He remember him said, "I'll be back, Bennett."
Is it a good? Yeah, I don't know.
Trump. People start to apologise that they like Trump.
No, well, I got onto Trump. And by the way, that's the most non-succinct answer to a question I've ever asked.
Well, give us the question again.
No. You went around it like a.
Why did they lose? Because they got no opposition.
Well, okay. Because so it's purely off the opposition. Yeah. Yep. So there you go. That's
right. They had a whole hodgepodge of policies. They tried to please everyone. All you got to do is say, we're going to try and bring the costs down, but I tell you, we're going to just law and order so you feel safe on the streets. What about the graffiti in this town here, this city?
Yeah.
If the copper
Cooter was going to clean that up.
If the copper from New Zealand, if he wants to have some pride in the city that he's presiding over, nail the people who go to face.
So he's a police officer here as well? No.
He's the head of the police force.
He is now. But has he ever been a police man here?
Yeah, he retired.
He was a police officer in New Zealand?
Yeah.
So he's never been a police officer in Australia. So how can you do that?
You got your ears painted on.
No, but how can you actually do that? Can you just go get someone from a different country and say, come and run our police force?
I just said that, Duck. I said, how can we in this state or this town or this country not find a policeman that's capable of running a Victorian police force? You've got to go to New Zealand. No reflection on the man. He's probably a star, but he's a New Zealander. He's been retired for 6 years and they've headhunted him to come over here and run the coppers. It is frightening.
It is.
Why didn't
you... Well, you didn't exactly explain it. I thought he was a Kiwi that moved to Australia, was an Australian.
Oh, well, when I say
became an Australian citizen, was a police officer here, and then worked his way up.
When you said I didn't,
so they just pulled him out of Auckland.
When you said I didn't explain it.
Out of retirement too.
6 years. When you said I didn't explain it, I would have thought you would have been up with the most important news.
Oh no, I knew. I'd heard about it, but I didn't know the actual background.
No, you didn't. You don't know a lot of background. A lot of things.
Does he?
Like Trump.
Does he? What did he do in New Zealand? Did he clean up?
He had a 7-Eleven. He was a copper. He was a fucking police.
What was his history?
He was a Uber driver.
Did he clean up a city or something?
Fucked if I know, but he's a New Zealand resident.
Yeah, but he might have just cleaned up a whole city, Christchurch.
He
or
might have.
Auckland
Let's hope he did.
Well, clearly he
that's
did.
his credentials.
Well, clearly
that's why
he did 6 years ago.
Well, wouldn't you think we could find an Australian?
I would have thought.
Like Mr. Joyce and Mr. Joyce, the husband and husband team that ran Qantas. Wouldn't you think we could find a bloke, an Australian that could run Qantas, rather than graffitiing all the planes with the yes/no vote? I see Penny Wang. Do you know what she's going to do? She thinks what? Penny Wong. Penny. Oh, I said Wang.
Yeah.
Penny Wong said, don't worry about, this is after they got in, don't worry about the yes-no vote, that's going to rear its ugly head again and that will get passed, the yes vote, the voice to Parliament. Can you believe it, that they spent $500 million on the yes-no vote, it got resoundingly beaten and now they have no interest in what the democratic process is, they're going to bring it up again. They are the most disgraceful, dishonest, hypocritical.
How long before? So because that was years ago, that the yes/no vote.
That was year before last.
Years. Well, that's years. I said years ago.
18 months ago.
Okay. How long before something?
She said it's inevitable.
Yes. How long before something isn't passed, in your opinion, can it be brought up again?
Just explain that again, Doug, please.
How long before something...
Desperately trying to... Yep.
How long before something isn't passed? So,
yes.
You know, how much time...
To be reintroduced.
To be reintroduced,
yes.
and see what people think again.
I don't think there's a schedule written down about that.
Exactly.
But
that's why I'm asking you the question.
Well, then why...
Well, how long do you think it should be? Why can't it be on the agenda again in a year's time or 2 years' time?
Because we've just wasted... I
don't think we should be wasting $500 million on it.
Well, we just wasted $500 million of your tax dollars on a plebiscite which was resoundingly beaten by the 25 million people that live in this country, and now they're going to thumb their nose at the opinion of the electorate and they're going to bring it up again. And whether they won't spend another $500 million, they'll just make a decree in Parliament. They say, no, we're putting the voice to Parliament in and it's going to become law. Because they are shit scared of getting rounded up because they're not because of the racist overtones of all this. It is disgraceful.
Yeah,
and the very fact
that's your opinion, and I know you're strong on it, but I think that as long as you're not you shouldn't be spending $500 million on something. But there's nothing wrong with it coming up again and giving.
Why isn't it? It's been voted on.
Yeah, but that's why I asked you the question before. How long before you can vote on something again?
So
should it be 4 years, like you do in politics?
So if if the decision was that it's not necessary and there's plenty of representation from Indigenous parliamentarians and various bodies around Australia, what's changed to make them say, oh, well, we're going to reintroduce it again? What circumstances have changed?
It happens. It happens a lot with different laws. Different laws often go
Give us
up
one.
Time and time again.
Which laws have changed that they've brought up?
Oh, I don't know.
No, that's correct.
I would assume there is. I would assume there is a lot.
Statements. These are generic statements off the top of your head, Doug.
They are off the top of my head,
well,
but I reckon I'd be right.
How can we possibly have a discussion if you don't?
No, because I reckon I'd be right.
Oh, you reckon you'd be right?
Well, you don't even know what the required time is that you can bring something
There's
up
no
again.
written law about what the
name? Miss Wong.
Wong. Yeah.
She said it'll be on the agenda again.
She said.
And you're up in arms about it.
She said it's inevitable.
Okay. And what is that? That's not saying this year. That's not saying next year.
No,
she's saying it's inevitable. It will happen at some point in time.
And my point is, why would you say that after you've just been swept into power again? Why would you just say that and create the hysteria over it and the controversy over it? Why would you say that? Because you didn't accept the public's vote the first time.
Maybe.
No, that's not maybe. That's obviously, if she's brought it up again, you don't accept what the public said. It's not relevant to 98% of the population.
I don't know whether it was that resounding defeat. It was
98%. There's 2% of the population are.
No, I'm saying the actual vote. I'm saying the vote was
the vote
closer than what you say.
No, it wasn't. They said it was a 60-40, and I reckon
that's not
no, they
resounding.
said that. I reckon they fudged the figures.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely.
You are actually. You might be Donald Trump. If something goes against you, you think it's been fudged.
I tell you what, if Donald Trump arrived at Tullamarine and said, "I'm taking over Victoria here," I'd tell you what. You should be so lucky.
Yes,
and the people who say they can't stand him, cannot give me one reason what you don't like about Donald Trump.
I think he talks a bit of shit, to be honest.
Oh, as opposed to?
Well, no,
as opposed to what?
As opposed to most of us.
As opposed to Elbow or to?
I think we're all guilty of telling
gilding the lily.
The odd porky pie.
Gilding the lily.
We've all told the odd porky pie, haven't we?
What?
Porky pie lie.
I know what a porky pie is. Fuck me. But there's lies and there's lies. White lies are, if your wife comes out in a dress and you say, "Do you reckon I look fat in it?" And she does. You don't say, "Yeah, you look fat in it." And I say, "You look fantastic, sweetheart." That's a white lie. A deliberate lie is saying we're not going to cut back Medibank, and then you just cut it back in half.
Right. What other topics have you got? Because that's the longest succinct answer I've ever heard on a topic.
Well, have you got any? I was going to. I've had some other things here. Just reading them out here. That Trump was. I want you to tell me. So this is I go, and I happy to say I'm a Trump supporter, and I'm going to on Sunday. I'm going to that place that they wouldn't let in the man with the hat on.
I know the name of that. Baxter.
Yeah.
Captain, are you?
I'm going there.
Captain Baxter, is that where it was, sir?
I have a Make America Great Again hat. I tell you what I thought I'd wear down there. You Cannot Be Serious hat, which is very similar to the Make America Great. It's red hat with white writing.
I get it.
And I'm going to walk in there and I have the bloke come up and say, "You can't come in here with that hat." And he'll look at it and say, "Oh, no, that's not Make America Great Again. That's You Cannot Be Serious." He said, "Anyhow, you're being a smart ass. Get out anyhow." That's what he'll probably say.
You've got to get these things right with venues. But that's a very good venue, by the way. Captain Baxter. You know we should do, because we're having we've got a date after this, you and I and Sue.
Yeah, I know that.
We're going to Ricardo's in Albert Park. Mm-hmm. We should. Many years ago, it's a good little segment. I used to do a restaurant review, because people like to know where you go and where you eat, and affordability and service.
Fraught with danger, that.
All of those sorts of things. Why? What's?
Well, because you would have plenty of friends who own restaurants, and then if you single out ones that you like, and they say, "What about ours?" I got Lawrence Money used to that. Good man, Lawrence Money. He rang me up and he said he's writing a book on your favourite restaurant. I said, "No, Lawrence, I'm not."
But I talk about University Cafe on Lygon Street. There's University Cafe, Universita Cafe. Been going there since I was 16 years of age.
Yes.
Now I talk about how good the food is there, but you talk about the affordability, the quality of the food, and the service. And it's not, you're not just picking out places that your mates. And I don't have a lot of mates that own bloody food restaurants. I like a pie at Brumby's in Albert Park, or
Pie Face.
Hey,
Pie Face.
Pie Face. Do you like Pie Face? No, I like Brumby's.
You've heard of it's a shop called Pie Face.
Yeah, I know. I said I like
franchise.
Brumby's instead of Pie Face.
Well, they put different quality meat in it.
No, well, they're all different. It's like, so you got the Brumby's in Albert Park. You know the one I'm talking about, Sue, right next to Dundas and Fawcett.
Yeah.
Not friends, but I go to Dundas and Fawcett quite a bit. I like eating there. Brumby's is next door. You get the bread. I like Baker's Delight bread as well, but you get the Brumby's. The Brumby's sausage rolls and pies are very good. But I'm onto the Brumby's bread now, rather than the Baker's Delight bread. But no, but I just got them recently, Sam,
you?
to do a kids party. They did a kids party, but they did sandwiches, they did everything. Very good, very good.
You sourced the bread for the sandwiches from Brumbies or Baker's Delight.
I sourced the bread and the pies and no, they make the sandwiches at Brumbies with their bread, I assume. But we'll walk past there today, and it's very good.
Take us and introduce us to the manager.
They're not. I'm not saying this because I have an acquaintance with anyone there. I'm just saying the quality there, just like Dunderson Force, it's very good, and there's Ricardo's, which we're going to today.
Is that good?
The food at the Albert Park Hotel is delicious.
I see. Why are we eating at Ricardo's then?
Why?
Yeah. Why don't
because
we
you because the last
no you said let's go to lunch at the.
I saw you there. I do like Italian. I like Italian food. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll go there. You'll have a rosé and we'll enjoy it.
A rosé. I've got to go to Horsham after this.
Oh,
got to speak at a function.
Jeez.
I think
the Shoals are from Horsham, and Tim Watson's from he's from Dimboola, which isn't far from there.
I know that.
Yes, and you got Neil. Stupid? So you got people like I think
Doug Wade.
Yeah,
comes from Narrawong.
Yeah, I think Bradley. Maybe not. There's a group, but the two Shoals come from initially from
in
Horsham.
The Horsham Standard. It said that Sam Newman was coming up trying to gain favour from when he interviewed the neo-Nazi. He's trying to get back in favour with the public.
Well,
that'll probably be in the paper. If the Herald Sun are running it, it will be.
Good town, Horsham.
Horsham,
yeah, about halfway between here and Adelaide. You know that,
Duck. I've been on the planet. I used to sell hairdressing products all over Victoria.
Did you really? Why does that? Why doesn't that surprise me? Hairdressing products.
Yeah, hair products.
Back when?
Tints and semi-permanents.
You were putting tints in your hair.
I was selling them we had a wholesaling business, Doug and I, for a decade. I went all over Victoria.
How did a bloke back in the 50s and 60s get into hair tinting products and driving around?
We were selling them. I wasn't getting into them. It was
you would have been
had an opportunity.
You would have been. Here you are talking about me about waxing and putting a bit of moisturiser on, and you're in the what years are we talking? 70s.
Yep.
So you were out selling hair products to men.
No, to hairdressers. Ladies' hairdressers
yes. Back in the 70s. Gee, are you serious?
You cannot be serious.
You cannot be serious.
Of course I was.
And you're having a crack at me
I'm not having a crack at you.
For waxing and putting a bit of moisturiser on.
I didn't fucking put the hairdressing products on me. I was just selling them.
Yeah, but that's a very unusual job for a heterosexual man back in the 70s.
Have a look at this number plate I've got.
That's a very... But for a heterosexual man in the 70s, that's quite...
not everyone who's hairdressers gay.
Well... I didn't say that. You did, but that's a very... hetero. Oh, you're kidding. Look at this. Hetero. You know what?
I'm going to put that on the car.
Generally, people...
I'm the last one left in my street.
Generally, the tosser that would drive around with that on would be the opposite of it.
Not at
all. That's a cover.
The building I live in, I'm the only heterosexual living in it.
That's a cover. You drive around with that. But so you and Doug Wade, the legendary Doug Wade, and the legendary Sam Newman went from salon to salon in the 70s. 70s?
Yes.
Am I right? The decade, got the right decade?
Yes.
In the 70s, selling hair products
for a decade,
to female salons.
Well, not necessarily female.
And while doing that...
Ladies, hairdressers, men and women alike.
And while doing that, well, there wasn't probably not a lot of
some of the best ones, Gordon Hall,
while doing that,
John Murray.
While doing that, you were driving around with a number plate with Hetro on it. just to highlight the fact that you were doing that, but you're a heterosexual.
Well,
that is
it's a very long bow to draw.
You know what? You have surprised me here today. I think everyone is going to be quietly surprised.
So you think this is a smokescreen?
And you reckon that you weren't waxing your plums and doing all that back in the 70s, and you're selling hair products?
I do reckon that.
Were you tipping? Were you when did you first put a colour through a tip through your hair? What age? When were you?
Mid-70s.
Yeah.
So we get off.
It's all coming out now.
That's what's coming out.
Okay, well, let's come out. Is this truly right?
Well, have a look at it.
No, but back in the have you
Have I what?
experimented with your sexuality?
Bent a bloke over and driven him home.
No, I'm asking you, have you experimented? Because
what's the question?
My point is selling hair products in the 70s and driving around with a number plate with Hetro on it is a bit gay.
Really? What, just selling hairdressing?
Back in that time. Are you allowed to say gay these days? I don't know.
Yeah, of course you are. That's like saying a man who sells lingerie to department stores is effeminate.
No, different now. The times have changed. I'm talking a man in his 70s
What about a bloke
with
who
tips
sells,
in his hair,
what about
driving around with Hetro number plates.
What about
all the salons in country areas, I assume, too, just to take advantage of
what about a bloke who's a rep for Kenworth Trucks? Would you say he's a sort of a bogan bloody... It just depends what the product is.
I'm talking about the times. So you go back in the times, and you like going back in what you could once do back then you can't do now. And I would say back in the 70s, a truck driver was a burly big guy with, that smoked Winnie Reds and drove around.
Would you? Typecast people.
Well,
now what are they?
Yes.
Indians.
No, I think there's...
Pakistanis.
I think there's a whole range of truck drivers now in comparison to what there was back then.
Maybe it could have been ex-hairdressers that have got sick of cutting ladies' hairs and now driving
trucks.
trucks.
So how long, just out of curiosity, how long did you do this hairdressing stuff?
A decade, I said.
10 years.
That's a decade?
Yeah. 10 years you did it for.
I must tell you, the day we got bought, I must tell you...
It must have been very fruitful for you, was it?
There was a lot of perks on the side, yeah. We used to get that out of the way, and then when we were leaving, say, by the way, do you want any product?
All right.
No, we had a fair run. I was that busy. I had to put a boy on.
I think we finish on this. This is brilliant. Good stuff.
All right. Well, now, so I'm just telling you this. Adam Bant, he's out. He should be squeezed into a bottle, and pushed out to sea on an ebbing tide. It's the greatest news I've ever heard. Trump, you've not told me one thing that you dislike about Trump besides him speaking shit.
Anyway,
what policy don't you agree with that he's done?
Well, I haven't agreed with the tariffs already.
Why not? Because he's trying to shore up America.
He's upset the world already.
He's trying to shore up American excellence
why
after
you give us stuff
Biden
about America?
degraded it.
It's what we on our own
come in
on terra firma. Yeah. We should worry about what happens here. Not
I
there.
am worried about. I've told
it's upset lots of businesses here.
I've told the Liberal. But that's up to us to.
I'm just saying.
He's looking out for his country.
Stop worrying about Hetro. Stop worrying about what's going on over there, and worry about how it affects us here.
I'm telling what the Liberals should concentrate on: reinforcing the police force, stamping out crime, and the disgraceful behaviour of the.
I think we finish. We've done that. I think we finish on Hetro Sam. Hetro Sam.
Finish. Doc Fordham. The Doc's left us. I tried to ring him before the election. I rang him. I didn't text him. He said, I'm not listening to texts. He doesn't listen to phone messages. I tried to get hold of the Doc because we said we can speak to him periodically. I would say he's enjoying far more the half hour he came on and did this every fortnight than the podcast he does up there for Channel 9.
Of course.
But I've tried to ring the Doc.
I can't. All day at lunch now, I'm going to be looking at you, just thinking of you. Just going from salon to salon. I just can't.
That's what a rep does. I was a rep. Doug.
Did you own the business or just a rep?
We owned the business.
Oh, you owned the business.
Yes, it was called Technique Distributors.
You couldn't have put someone on to do the salon to salon or.
Duck, you stupid man. The very fact that Doug was a personality and I was in those days a personality That was our.
But how does that come across?
That was our entree into.
It's your entree, all right. How does it come? How does it come? How does that come across your desk? You just one day, you and Doug sitting around having a coffee down in Geelong, and you just go,
No.
You know what, Doug?
No.
I think we should sell hair products to salons.
Why are you speaking like that? You can't even take a gay off. I could do it better than you, but we shouldn't be doing that.
Right,
That's
come on,
politically
I'm not
incorrect.
taking. I wasn't taking anyone off.
Yes, you were. You were going, oh, is this such a good
I was trying to do it in a soft voice because.
What, do you think Doug and I are soft people?
No, well.
I tell you what.
All right, come on, we've got to go for lunch. I've got to get to the gym.
We were offered a product called Delver to sell in Victoria, which is a very popular hairdressing product. And they said, did you want the agency here, our business? And we did. We took it and we put it on the map in Victoria, and then the company who had it in New South Wales and Queensland wanted to have it down the eastern seaboard, and they bought us out. And I should tell you the day we went up and sold our business. You won't believe it. It was the most humorous thing I've ever seen.
I will tell you, I had just quickly while we're on hairdressers and beauticians, I was up in Port Douglas.
Yes.
And I was staying at the Sea Temple. Brother had an apartment there, and I said I was about to leave, and I had a Dumb and Dumber moment. You've seen the movie Dumb and Dumber, you know what? Right at the end where the bus pulls up, and they go, "Oh, you know, need someone."
Yes, I've seen it.
So, yeah, well, I was about to leave. I was about to fly back to Melbourne, and this many years ago, and I was about to fly out because Port Douglas was a little on the quiet side for me. I'd done a bit of fishing and. Anyway, this bus pulled up. The big bus pulls up, and it's full of hairdressers and beauticians. And as they were getting out of the bus, I just sort of grabbed my bags and went back to the room and decided to stay for another week. It was one of those days. But I tell you what, there wasn't any hetero men that were. Salespeople that got off the bus.
They're just all women. Well, some of the best hairdressers in the world and in Melbourne are men.
I know that. What's anyway?
Carl of Switzerland, John Morrie, Michael from Ibiza, which is in Vic Avenue, Victoria Street. Yeah, what are you looking at? You don't necessarily get your hair cut by a woman if you go to a ladies' hairdresser. No,
I didn't say that. I'm not saying that.
You're running the industry down.
I'm laughing at the
don't you think
plates.
that's fantastic?
I think it's hilarious. I think the fact that you had to put that on
just to show
because you already, given that you bought this, you already knew the perception before you.
So I just used to drive up with that on the car, and if there was a male hairdresser, he would get the hint very quickly. Don't go the lunch when I walk in. Don't go the grope.
Very good.
All right, Duck. Well, there you are. So it's been interesting. I don't think there's anything else. The Doc Fordham. Doc, give us a ring one day. Come on, will you? Because
we'll speak to him.
We'll make you. Yeah. Well, of course we'll speak to him. Well, I think that's it now. That's all right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Righto, well done.